Okay, today we're going to check our understanding regarding finding the area of rectangles, parallelograms, triangles, and trapezoids. Then tomorrow we're going to learn about how to find the area of a rhombus and a kite. And then we're going to do our checking our understanding on that. Then we're going to have a review on everything from area of rectangles, parallelograms, triangles, trapezoids, rhombi, which is plural for rhombus, kites, and then we're going to have a test on it on Friday. So we'll finish up area. After that, we will go into surface area and then volume next week. So surface area is next week, volume will probably be the week after. Depending on how much, if we have to do surface area for a couple weeks, so be it, we will. Anyway, there's no hurry. We're going to be able to find the area of rectangles, parallelograms, triangles, and trapezoids by using formulas. And these are the formulas. A rectangle is just, based on height, it's really just length times width, same thing. Parallelogram is base times height and remember, the height is always usually with a perpendicular. A triangle is 1/2 base times height, or base times height divided by 2, and that should be a perpendicular to give you the height. Same thing here. And a trapezoid, they say 1/2 multiplied by base 1 plus base 2 times the height. But I gave you an easier formula. We just did the height multiplied by adding, first we added base 1 plus base 2, and we multiplied by the height. And then lastly, we just divided by 2. You'll get the same answer, but it's a little bit easier, less math. Anyway, here is an example. You have length times width for a rectangle. Okay, so you have 95 millimeters times 3 millimeters. So I'll just multiply by this way vertically. You can use a calculator, it's fine. I get 285, and don't forget, it is millimeters to the second power, or square millimeters, because that has a huge impact with areas two-dimensional. That's for that rectangle. Now this one, it's a little tricky. They gave us centimeters, and they gave us 9.9 meters because it's a little bit, meters, centimeters are 100, and then you would move two decimals to the left. So be careful. Make sure it's the same dimension. So don't use that one to confuse yourself. Stick with centimeters and centimeters. Just doing length times width. Just make sure you stick with the same dimensions. There are not too many of them. So we're going to be doing 990 multiplied by 550. And I will use a calculator. Save space. And 990. We can convert it if we wanted to into meters, but I'm not going to confuse the issue. Times 550. We get 544,500. That's a lot, and it's quite a big area to cover, and that's centimeters squared. Don't forget, it's two-dimensional area, so you have to put your units centimeters squared. A lot of you forget that, but that's very important. Okay, here is a triangle. Remember, a triangle was just base times height, and then we just divided by 2. And that was for area of a triangle. Okay, so remember, the height is represented by a perpendicular. So that's the height. And remember, then we look for the base. Well, I'll tell you how you can tell what the base is. If this is the height, the base would be right here. Because the base would be, perpendicular with the height. That's one way to know. Just remember, the base is like completely perpendicular with the height. See how it's perpendicular like that? Perpendicular means it forms that right angle. So we're going to multiply base, which is 10, times the height, which is 3.7, and then we're going to divide by 2. So 3.7 times 10 should be 37, and then divide by 2. And you can use your calculator if you feel most comfortable. It's whatever, you're comfortable with. And you should get 18.5. I'll go over here, 18.5 meters squared, or meters to the second power, same thing. And that's the area of that triangle right there. Now let's find the area of this triangle. Okay, that's your height right here. And your base is perpendicular with it, like I said, so that's your base. So it's base times your height and divide by 2. So it's 40 divided by 2 is 20, and it happens to be yards square or square yards, 20 yards to the second power. And that's the area of that triangle. Now let's look at another thing. We're being given parallelograms. So for a parallelogram, it's just base times height. And remember the height, and I'm going to write area. Remember the height is being represented by a perpendicular, so that's the height. And then the base would be right here. Actually, to be honest with you, yeah, that would be your height, and the base would be 11. So it's 11 times 5 is 55 inches squared. And this, as you can see, usually, like I said, it's perpendicular. See, these were the same. Perpendicular with the height is usually opposite. I mean the base. So here's your height. Your height is represented by a perpendicular right here. And this is your base right here. These are your base right over here. So this would be your base. See how it's diagonal to your height? I hope that helps you a little bit. Sometimes it depends on how they look. So it's 10 base times height times 5.3, and that just means you move the decimal over 1. So it should be 53 meters squared. Whenever you multiply by 10, you just move 1 over. Multiply by 100, you move 2 decimals over. And then lastly, we have area of a trapezoid. Area of a trapezoid. And like I said, a trapezoid, I use this formula, the height. You add base 1 plus base 2, and then we divide by 2. So we can do that. Okay, this is my height, always represented by a perpendicular. Call this base 1 and that base 2. It really wouldn't matter which one you would call base 1 or base 2 as long as you get them both. So your height is 7.3. Base 1, you got 12 plus base 2 is 6. All that divided by 2. 12 and 6 is 18. And you're going to multiply by 7.3. And then you're going to divide by 2. So here we go. 7.3 multiplied by 18. And then divide by 2. And you get 65.7. And don't forget, kilometers to the second power. Kilometers squared. And then also the same thing here. This is your height. Call this base 1, base 2. Same formula. So the height is 4.7. Base 1, 4.8. Plus base 2, 10. All that divided by 2. And so you're going to add 4.8 plus, I'm running out of room, plus 10. You get 14.8 times 4.7. Divide by 2. And you get 34.78. and that would be meters to the second power. So I hope this helps you. If you need me, don't hesitate. Contact me in the drop-in center. I'll be happy to help you. Remember, we just did area of rectangles, parallelograms, triangles, trapezoids, and we used formulas to solve it. Have a great day. I'll see you in class.